Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Access, it is my privilege to welcome you all to the Living Looms of India colloquium on handloom sector, organized under the Living Looms of India initiative, supported by HSBC and curated by Livelihoods India initiative of Access. It is my honor and privilege to introduce the inaugural panel for the colloquium. I would like to invite Mr. Shrivendu Rath, Vice President and Lead Non-Farm Sector, to come up on stage and take his place. I would like to now invite Mr. Vipin Sharma, CEO, Access Development Services. And it's my privilege to welcome Mr. William Bissell, Chairman, Fab India. William Nanda Bissell, the Chairman of Fab India, has steered the company's retail growth and product diversification over the last 2 decades. One of India's most successful contemporary lifestyle retail chains, Fab India is known for its focus on craft-based products, creating job opportunities and generating livelihood in the craft sector across the country. It has been particularly successful in bridging the rural-urban divide, creating access to urban markets for rural-based artisans working with traditional skills. This commitment extends to Fab India Group company, Organic India, recognized as world's leading source of authentic organic product and supplements, that actively supports natural, sustainable, organic agriculture practices and livelihood across rural India through its wide network of farmers and tribal wildcrafters. In the year 1988, after graduating from Wesleyan, William set up the Bhadrajan Artisans Trust, an artisans cooperative of leather workers, weavers based in the state of Rajasthan. The original trust now operates a rural school in the same area with over 450 students and an emphasis on quality education. Between 1990 and 1999, William experimented with different forms of community ownership, an experience that deeply influenced his approach to suppliers and supply bases when he took over the managing director of Fab India in 1999, a position he held till 2018. Now may I request Astha to please come up on stage and present the floral bouquet to Mr. Bissell. May I now request Mr. Vipin Sharma to felicitate Mr. Bissell with a shawl as a token of our appreciation. May I now invite Mr. Vipin Sharma to give an introduction to the Living Looms of India initiative and for today's colloquium. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Access Development Services, it's my privilege to welcome all of you to the first Living Looms of India colloquium on handlooms today. It is my very special privilege to have William with us today. And if I were to look at, somebody, there isn't anybody like William who has supported, sustained the livelihoods of craftsmen across the country. And for that, we should all give him a big hand. A little bit about Access. Access was set up in 2006 with support from DFID, which is Government of UK. And over these last 18 years, we've expanded our programs to 14 states in the country, largely trying to work to see how we can strengthen the livelihoods of small, poor producers whose lives continually, perennially teeter on the brink of collapse. So that is a big effort. Much of our work is in the farm sector, but we also have a very sizable portfolio in the non-farm sector. Over the last 18 years, Access must have implemented some 170 programs across the country, trying to see how we can strengthen these fragile livelihoods of the poor producers. Uh, as a part of our work, Living Looms of India is one of our most important signature programs. It got started in 2018 with the aim of between 2020 to 2018 and 2026 to see if we could work to strengthen and revitalize 20 handloom clusters across the country. And it's as a part of this program, while we work directly with the weavers, we also try to see if we can bring the ecosystem players together to mull over what needs to be done, how do we take this whole sector forward and all. And it's absolutely wonderful that we have William, who's going to talk a lot about his experiences and his future vision to see how we can revitalize this very important traditional activity of the country. Handloom sector, as we all know, is after agriculture the second largest provider of employment in the country, with about 4.3 million people directly involved in the sector. Paradoxically, however, it contributes to only about 7% to the country's GDP. With so many incredible handloom clusters, not only would it be expected that they would contribute more to the GDP, but also they could have contributed significantly to exports of the country. They could have contributed significantly to creating new employment. But when we see a lot of these clusters, moribund, in decay, the next generation not inclined to pursue the tradition, we are losing a huge opportunity. So the effort, I'm sure there are lots of organizations already making the effort, are engaged in this whole process, but we today need to look at what could be individual, institutional, collective ways in which we can promote handlooms, which is a very, very rich tradition in the country. Successive governments have made several efforts to help the sector survive. Significant investments have been made in creating an ecosystem through which weavers could be protected and benefited from. From the Khadi and Handloom Industries Development Act in 1953 to establishing dedicated institutions like the Weaver Service Centers, Indian Institute of Handloom and Technology, Handloom and Handicrafts Export Corporation of India, Handloom Export Promotion Council, All India Handloom Fabrics Marketing Cooperative, National Handloom Development Corporation, etc. There was also, I think in 1986, the Development Commissioner for Handlooms was set up. With all this effort and investment, we would have expected the sector to really grow, but I think at the weaver level, if you see, the gains have been sort of, I would say, suboptimal. So what are the problems? So we did a diagnostic just before we started the Living Looms of India program to see what are some critical issues, some critical impediments that the weavers, the weaving community faces. And among them, a few that we, looked at. One was, of course, they are weavers, they need the yarn, and good quality yarn was never available, so they were trying to see, not use sometimes, good quality yarn. Then lack of access to credit has always been a big challenge for these small producers, particularly the weavers. Banks have always been very skeptical, sclerotic when it comes to giving loans to small livelihood owners. And because of that, the weaver completely relies on the middleman who provides him with consumption loans, who provides him with the yarn, also wages. And in some manner, then the weaver actually becomes like a captive bonded labor to the middleman and never is able to fully gain from his craft or his skill. There is a decline in local markets. Earlier, when weaving was done in clusters, a big demand used to come from the community itself. But that is all going because cheaper options are available. And while the local demand has almost vanished, the weaver himself is not able to navigate the distant higher value markets. So that becomes a big challenge. The weaver is not aware of what the global trends are, what the national trends are. He lacks designs. So that again is a very big challenge. And then of course, I mean, technology upgradation. So that's again a big thing. So if you look at the looms, if you look at the other implements, the equipment, etc., that's all sort of, needs serious upgradation. So these are some of the challenges that, through our diagnostic we found out. And then Living Looms of India is essentially like an effort to see how we can overcome some of these impediments for the weaver. So as I told you, we are working in, currently, we have an ambition to work in about 20 clusters across the country. We are currently working in 8 clusters, which are Kota in Rajasthan, Maheshwar in Madhya Pradesh, Nuapatna in Odisha, Bankura in West Bengal, Bhagalpur in Bihar, Majuli Island and Lakhimpur in Assam, and Warangal in Telangana. This is where we are directly interfacing with the weavers in these clusters. But other than this, we also have like a strategy where we indirectly support 10 other clusters in the country. In each of the clusters where we work, we are trying to see if we can organize the weavers into some kind of a producer company. In a few places, given the fact that availability of yarn is a big challenge, we've established very successfully yarn banks where the weaver is able to, based on his demand, get yarn locally from the yarn bank. So these are the kind of efforts that we are making. As a part of Living Looms of India, as I said, we're also trying to see if we can bring the ecosystem players together to, envision a joint vision in terms of how we can go about revitalizing handloom in the country. And as a part of that, this colloquium is one such effort. And I'm sure, through the day, during the discussions and debates and deliberations that we will have, we will come up with some issues in terms of what these challenges, what are the factors that impede, what are the factors that advance the livelihoods of the handloom weavers. And this is, of course, going to help us to refine our own strategies and policies, but that is where we are coming from. I'm really glad that a lot of important people are here today to discuss during the day in terms of what we can do for the handloom sector in the country. As a part of Living Looms of India, we've also organized a small handloom festival, which is next door, and I hope you'll get a chance to visit that, where some very good weaving is on display and sale, and I welcome you to visit that as well. But I'd like to end by thanking all of you for being here and helping us with our effort to see how we can take the handloom sector forward in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Vipin sir, for your introduction to the Living Looms initiative and for today's colloquium. I now invite Mr. William Bissell to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you and good morning everybody. मैं विपिन जी को करीबन 30 साल से जानता हूँ। उन 30 सालों में मैंने देखा है कि विपिन जी ने अपने पूरी ज़िंदगी बुनकार भाइयों और किसानों की ज़िंदगी और उनकी प्रोडक्ट में लाभ लेने की बहुत लगन और मेहनत से काम किया है। मैं इनको काफ़ी सालों से जानता हूं। जब इन्होंने पहले एक्सेस डेवलपमेंट सर्विसेज को शुरू करने से पहले ये रूडा में काम करते थे, आरबीआई के साथ काम करते थे, और इन्हीं समय में इन्होंने बहुत ही क्लस्टर्स का गहरा एहसास की क्लस्टर एम्प्लॉयमेंट, इनकम जनरेशन, ये चीज़ें कैसे हो सकती हैं, और किसानों के लिए मार्केट्स, एक्सेस टू मार्केट्स कैसे हो सकते हैं छोटे किसानों के लिए, और बुनकारों में के साथ इन्होंने बहुत काम किया है। पहले मैं इनसे मिला था जब ये महेश्वर क्लस्टर, was it true Maheshwar was when we first met, महेश्वर, और उस समय विपिन जी, महेश्वर एक बहुत छोटी जगह थी, वहाँ पे जो महेश्वरी साड़ी थी वो कम से कम मेरे ख्याल में बहुत कम लूम रह गए थे, और ऐसी स्थिति आ गई थी कि अगर कोई सपोर्ट ना मिले उनको तो ऐसे लगने वाला था कि वो महेश्वर सारी ही ख़त्म हो जाए। इस स्थिति में विपिन जी ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया। वहाँ पे और भी संस्थाएं थी जैसे रेवा ने भी उन दिनों बहुत रिवाइवल का काम किया था, और इन सब लोगों के काम और वहाँ पे जो लोकल कम्युनिटीज़ हैं उनके सपोर्ट के साथ आज महेश्वर साड़ीज़ लूम्स बढ़ गई हैं और उत्पादकता बढ़ गई है और कमाई भी काफ़ी बढ़ गई है। तो इस तरह से अगर आप ऐसे क्लस्टर देखें तो इसमें जानकारी हमें मिलती है कि अगर कोई परिश्रम और लगन के साथ काम करे तो जो ट्रेडिशन है, जैसे चंदेरी है, महेश्वर है, हज़ारों ऐसे जगह हैं जहाँ पे ऐतिहासिक समय से कुछ टेक्निक्स बनी हुई हैं जो इनकी विशेषताएं हैं, उनको मार्केट तक लाना और वो जो प्रोड्यूसर कम्युनिटीज़ उनको सपोर्ट करना, फार्मर प्रोड्यूसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस बनाना, उनको सपोर्ट करना, ये सब काम एक्सेस ने कम से कम 20 साल से एक्सेस इन कामों में लगी हुई है। और इससे हमें it's a very proud moment to be associated with an organization like Access. So thank you, Vipin, for all the great work you and your team have done over the years. Really, तो इस फील्ड में मैंने बहुत कुछ सीखा है, और हमारा जो काम क्लस्टरों में है उसमें हमने पिछले 30 साल से देखा है कि काफ़ी परिवर्तन आने लग गया है। आजकल माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हैंडलूम मार्क, नेशनल हैंडलूम डे, गवर्नमेंट ने इस पे काफ़ी ध्यान दिया है, और आज लगभग सारे जो नोडल मिनिस्ट्रीज़ हैं उन्होंने इस पे बहुत अच्छा काम किया, सपोर्ट पूरे तरह से दिया। और उस सपोर्ट का ये नतीजा है कि आजकल हर एक क्लस्टर में जो ट्रेडिशनल मेथड्स हैं, मैं कांथा वर्क के बारे में एक क्लस्टर से बात कर रहा था, उनको ऑर्डर्स मिलने लग गए हैं पहले से। और ये सारे क्लस्टर जो हैं पहले इनकी जो हालत थी, आज इनमें इनके ऑर्डर्स में, इनकम लेवल्स में, अर्निंग पोटेंशियल, ये सब चीज़ें बहुत बढ़ गई हैं पहले से। तो इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट का बहुत बड़ा भाग है, क्योंकि इन्होंने पूरी तरह से सपोर्ट की है। और एक्सेस उन्हीं NGOs में एक बहुत ही लीडरशिप रोल एक तरह से एक्सेस ने लिया हुआ है क्लस्टर डेवलपमेंट के एरिया में। और क्योंकि हम फार्मर से भी के साथ भी काम करते हैं, आर्टिजन्स के साथ भी काम करते हैं, तो हमने दोनों तरफ से देखा है कि this kind of work intervention directly into the cluster has very, very meaningful rewards to pay. So I wanted to just speak about the fact of branding also, क्योंकि इसमें एक बहुत बड़ा रोल जो कस्टमर के पास जो माल जाता है, कस्टमर की जो पहचान है वो ब्रांड से ही बनती है। और इस अगेन यहाँ पे एक्सेस ने 1-2 ब्रांड्स बनाई हैं that are open use brands which are to be used by the different groups, which I think is a very important step. इसमें हैंडलूम मार्क का भी बहुत विशेष रोल है, क्योंकि हैंडलूम मार्क से असली जो हैंडलूम की पहचान होती है कंज्यूमर्स के लिए वो हो सकती है। अगर आप प्योरिटी मार्क के तरह से देखा जाए, handloom mark is very, very important. Essentially, the handloom mark confers a stamp of authenticity on a product. तो मेरी ये this is my wish that आगे जाते handloom mark पे काफ़ी अगर emphasis दिया जाए, इसके लिए certification standards को बढ़ाया जाए और it should be strengthened so that जो non handloom product है वो handloom mark के साथ ना लग सके. तो फिर कस्टमर के मन में ये जैसे हमने देखा with lot of traditional techniques, especially we've seen this out of Europe. If they want to preserve a tradition, they create a mark, they have a certifying agency, the certifying agency certifies the mark, and then the mark becomes for the customer a stamp of authenticity. तो इससे कस्टमरों को ये लगता है कि वो जो खरीद रहे हैं वो असली चीज़ है, ऐसे नहीं कि पावरलूम हैंडलूम के नाम पे बिकाया जा रहा है. आई थिंक ओके, अगर मेरी आवाज़ पहुंच सकती है, इट्स फाइन, यू कैन हियर मी, so then we don't need this. So most important initiative is really the handloom mark for the sector, because if it's carefully monitored and the certification is done after checking to see the looms, it is a way that every cluster of weavers can get a much higher income level. Because if the weavers cluster, see the difference between a mark and a brand is can be owned by a company. A mark is there for anybody to use, whoever is actually employing the correct technique. So handloom mark can be used by any handloom cluster, whereas a brand can be used only by the owners of the brand. So in this way, if a brand like ours sells products with a genuine handloom mark on it, it supports the brand, but it also ensures that the community gets a much higher income because the customer recognizes it as such. So मेरे हिसाब से जिस तरह से मेरी एहसास है इस पे कि अगर हैंडलूम मार्क पे ज़्यादा emphasis दिया जाए, then I feel that the handloom mark will be something that will be very important as a value creator. A value creator क्यों? क्योंकि उसमें से आप the weavers can earn more, they can charge more for the product, and the market will pay more for it. आज के दिन में market customer को ये मालूम नहीं है कि ये genuine handloom है या powerloom है या इसमें synthetic material है या genuine cotton है. The customer is very confused. So with better labeling, the customer is able to make choices, and those choices will result in higher incomes for the handloom clusters. So इसके अलावा I feel that going forward there is a very, very big movement in the country for people who are feeling proud about wearing their local dress. I think this is very important. Their regional dresses, their local dresses. I think इसमें जितना इस movement में जितने young लोग आ जाएं, it makes it easier, because if everybody starts wearing jeans and t-shirts, then there will not be much of a market for products that we produce. And today, given the importing of textiles by the large MNC chains, they have the ability to swamp our local markets. So I think it's important that if people make a commitment, they wear the clothes that reflect their culture. बहुत साल पहले मैं जब मैं भूटान गया था तो मैंने देखा था वहाँ के लोग सारे अपने जो वेश कपड़े हैं वो पहनते हैं, और उसे ऐसे लगा कि जहाँ पे भी आप जाते थे, the ladies and the men all wore their traditional clothes. And I know that in this era of globalized fashion का मतलब ये है कि सारे लोग एक तरह के कपड़े पहनते हैं. The differentiation and the diversity that comes from wearing your own traditions, wearing your own textiles, your own clothing, is very powerful. And I think that if thought leaders, if important opinion makers can set an example by wearing the kurta pajama to work, to social occasions, which is happening, and I think that provides a huge opportunity for micro entrepreneurs in this field. One area I saw that with the fashion designers, a lot of them are now focusing on traditional crafts. The fashion designers do the wedding market. The wedding market in turn influences people to wear traditional clothing. And so I think there's a change coming, and I think this change is very good for the industry, because the more people who choose to wear their local clothing, the more work there will be for all the micro enterprises that this sector supports. इस सेक्टर में ये खासियत है कि जो 99% लोग हैं इस फील्ड में, वो सारे they're all what the government has classified as micro to small enterprises. And micro and small enterprises create the largest amount of economic employment, growth, incomes in local areas, in aspirational districts, incomes are increased. So it is a very strong social, it is a very powerful social good. So I'm very glad to see here that a large portion of the people are wearing, their local outfits, and it's very nice to see that. Normally when I go somewhere and I wear a kurta pajama, I'm usually the only person. So it's really good to see that, and it's very nice to be here with you all. So Vipin, thank you to all of the team at Access who put this together, and to the exhibition that's happening outside. I look forward to being there, and I wish you all the best for the futures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bissell. Just to summarize what he said, and the importance of, I think, the three larger points that he talked about. One was about the importance of working with clusters. Secondly, was about branding, and even with going a bit beyond branding, but also working about the handloom mark to know the authenticity of what you're wearing. Thirdly, was about, of course, buying consciously, getting all age groups to wear traditional, and encourage everybody around us to be a little bit, how we clothe, be a little bit conscious about what we wear, and how that is very important. So thank you, Mr. Bissell, for coming and sharing your insights with us. With this, we now end our inaugural session. I take this opportunity to thank our esteemed guest who has joined us today. Once again, a warm welcome to everyone present over here. And thank you so much. As everyone mentioned, I would like to inform you that we have an exhibition happening within the annex, which is right next door, where all our weavers and weaver groups are displaying and selling their exquisite and handcrafted treasures. So please do take the opportunity to go and see, and also spend some money maybe. So yeah. We will continue to the opening session. We will now begin our opening session of the colloquium. I request you kindly to remain seated, and the session will begin now.